They must be expensive because every time you talk about them, you say how expensive they
I
are.
just can't believe how expensive this stuff is, man. Like,
You're listening to This Week in No Code plus AI, with weekly episodes sharing the latest advancements of AI, plus exclusive interviews with founders using these tools. So without any further ado, let's get started. Here I am with Matt from Rapid Dev Agency. Matt, welcome back to the podcast. How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great, man. Excited for this.
I'm excited too. It's always great chatting with you. Matt, for those that don't know of you already, tell us a little bit about yourself and the agency.
Yeah. So I'm the CEO of Rapid Dev. We're one of the largest agencies in the no-code, low-code space. We got our start about 4 years ago, and we were basically a Bubble agency. So absolutely love Bubble. I found Bubble, and my whole life changed. Huge bubbler. And so built the agency based on that. But as time has gone on, we've moved into other ecosystems as well. And so really we're building still a ton on Bubble, but we also build on different platforms and really try to just partner with people to be their technology partner. So we're one of the largest agencies in the space. We have over 100 people. And yeah, really excited about the future and what's coming up. A little nervous. That's what we'll get into.
A little nervous. Yeah, I think it's never been a better time right now to be a solutions implementer. But I think the goalposts are changing a little bit on us. And so, what I think I would love to talk about with you in this episode, we have a lot of listeners that run agencies, that are freelancers, that are in the no code, low code space, and they're trying to figure out what to do with all these new AI tools, just like we are, right?
Yeah.
And so let's talk out loud about some of the options that exist, some of the ways that you could take your agency, some of the opportunities that we think will be aligned for us in the future. Because at the end of the day, I still think all the skill sets that we have are really good skill sets. They're in demand now more than ever before.
Yep.
And the world is going to need this as everybody continues to digitize and bring AI into their systems. But I think the form factor is a little bit different than what we might have suggested or thought of a couple of years ago, where it's like, okay, no code is going to be that form factor. And it's kind of moved into AI as that form factor now. And so agencies that were built on just no code like yours, I think we're adjusting a little bit. So what are you seeing on your side?
Yeah, totally. I think nail on the head, like this is a big opportunity. So, some nights I'm scared, some nights I'm super excited, but overall, like there is going to be a boom, right? Like all companies, small and big, are going to try to learn how to digitize even if they're already digital, they need to start implementing these into their workflows and what they're doing. So, like overall, like have an opportunity mindset. The challenge is like you have to change everything that you've learned to do. So like we've been in the game for 4 years. We're really good at certain platforms, but we need to shift our thinking to like solution based. Like it's not really, people are sort of platform agnostic when they come to us. They just need a solution. This is their problem. They need a solution. You guys are the experts. You figure out how you're going to build it, what tools you're going to use to build it on, all that. So like for us, like that's top of the funnel sales and marketing, shifting the messaging to be more like, hey, we can build this type of solution for you. We're experts for these kind of use cases. Don't worry too much about the platform. So that's like one aspect of it. Other people, they come to us because we are, the best of the best at Bubble and a few other platforms. So we can talk our game about that. But in general, like there's going to be a boom of people that just know at a very high level, like they need to use AI in their business or they need some sort of solution generally, and they're going to ask us how to do it. So that's like top of the funnel. But then bottom of the like delivery side is where like the real challenges are. Like how we have this huge machine that we built to produce very consistent, high quality results over the last 4 years. How do we change that? That's like not an easy thing to change. So I can
And I think this
you.
goes for any large company in any industry, is just we have all this skill set that's doing it one way. And now all of a sudden AI is involved. We need to teach people how to do this. We need to teach them new ways to do this. We need to adapt it. And it's a hard kind of a slow process.
Yeah, exactly. Like a lot of these, like if you have an agency of 10, 12 people, like it's going to be a lot easier for you to adapt because what's changing is like the development life cycle. Like how do you build, right? And you may not even just be building apps anymore. You just may be building internal tools or like some AI agents or workflows to help a company. So it may not even just be app based, but either way, like you're much smaller. You probably have a small talented team that's very flexible and curious and interested versus we have those same elements, just it's much harder on a larger scale. So we're trying to like infuse in our culture, like take some time, go play with these these tools out there. Like I treat them as toys because they're fun.
Yeah.
I actually like love playing with this stuff and seeing what's possible. Um, but like we gotta like think all together, like how can we actually use these to make us more productive and build faster? Because that's going to be the new norm. Like I know everyone on the internet's like, like build this in, like 4 hours or something.
Yeah.
It's way more than that, right? Like it's
Right.
way harder to build something production ready. But like the bottom where you just want like a landing page and something up, like you could do that in minutes. It's crazy.
Right. Yeah, that leads me to believe like the requests that you've gotten throughout the years has always been like a full app build, I assume. But I also assume that those requests are now declining because a lot of people are going to the bolts, the lovables, etc., and trying to do their full app build there first. And then so maybe that leads into a decline of you coming to those requests for those requests, and or they going and doing that and then coming back to you and realizing they can't do that, which also delays that whole thing. And then maybe in the process, that idea or that passion that they had for that idea kind of goes away too, which also just leads to less inbound sales in that way. So, like, what are you seeing on your side? Has the appetite for full app builds decreased?
I know. I think it's increasing. Like I think, I think like you're right. There's a couple. Let's see. Like we still need more time to find out. But I think in general, people get like more enthusiastic because they tend to think like, oh, I'm 80% of the way there. This is like, I just need $500 worth of service work and we'll be there over the finish line. I got this. So I think Americans tend to be like perpetually optimistic and like they like it helps them get closer to actually visualizing what they're trying to build. So they get excited and like they're even more activated. I think that's my theory right now. We get a lot of inbound on these platforms and people coming to us with that story. So that's why it's leading me to believe that.
Yeah, it, it I think a while back you were talking about were you talking about just hiring traditional developers and teaching them Bubble, or have you
Yeah.
not gotten there yet?
Yeah, yeah. Like we wouldn't have to teach them. They usually had a traditional engineering background. They discovered Bubble, did some work in the Bubble ecosystem. Then we would hire them, and so that gave us like a huge edge in the early years because had our team would have like the fundamental knowledge of how to architect a database, how to architect an app, what to think about, how to structure workflows versus someone who's kind of doing this, as a citizen developer, just doesn't have that kind of fundamental background. So that gave us a huge edge. I still think it gives us a huge edge because a lot of these tools are code based. So like you started in Lovable or Bolt and you can open it up in Cursor and you don't get intimidated. You can still run with it.
Yeah, I completely agree. In fact, as someone that knows no code incredibly well, I still feel like I need to learn code ASAP. And because everything, all this AI tools are becoming around code, and so I know how to architect, I know how to put all this together, I know how to system think, but I can't actually read that code. That's why I got into no code in the beginning. What do you think? Do you think the value for learning how to code is actually increasing or decreasing now that AI is doing so much of it for you?
I don't know. I think about this all the time, right? Like I love to debate this with all my agency friends and everyone in the space. Like I feel like Lovable skyrocketed so quickly because the developer community is so massive, and I don't know if this is true. Like, is Lovable taking off because the developer community is like was so fascinated by it,
I don't
or
think
is it
so.
because of you don't think so? You think it's the non-coder
They
who
say that
wanted it?
80% of their user base is non-technical.
Okay, so I think that's great for Bubble because those not that 80% of the user base is going to churn, and eventually these tools will get really good. But like
Yeah.
Bubble has best in class like visual interface that no coders can then learn. I think there's
Hmm.
still just too much of a barrier. Like Lovable just dropped the barrier so drastically, so
Hmm.
literally anyone could type a sentence and get started.
And the
And
time to that aha moment was so quick. Like you type
yeah,
a sentence and then it comes to life faster than ever a no-code platform could ever do before.
exactly. And with Bubble, like they didn't have that. And the Bubble interface is like pretty intimidating. The Flutter Flow interface, same sort of realm and concept, still really intimidating to a no coder. So I think it's great to hear that like if 80% of their user base is no coders, that tells us that like there's going to be massive appetite from the non-developer community. That's the community we're in, the no coder, low coder community to like desire a tool that's quick, easy to use, and gets them, most of the way there.
Yeah, I recently saw Anton, the CEO of Lovable, discussing that most of their most success comes from building a Lovable and then bringing in the cursor to kind of, and then
Yep.
bringing it back in and having that relationship. But that means you need to know how to connect to GitHub. You need to know so
And
many
I
other
think that's
things with
where
code
I
that it's
think all
just
those
like,
no coders are going to be. I just feel like they're who wants to learn code, dude? Like, I don't want to learn like
right.
another
The
language.
same
I just want to speak in
reasons.
English. Like,
Right. I didn't
I don't
want to
want to
learn
learn.
code, and the same reasons exist 5 years ago that they exist now. Like, I don't want to have to manage a full programmed, in five different areas. And even though I know so much about it, it's, you ever see all those lines of code? Like, how boring does that look
Yeah, it's
like?
so boring, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the future is bright for a visual development interface. Combined with that AI prompting, I think that's what people are going to want. They don't want to sort through tons of lines of code, especially if they're not a developer. They just can't scan and find and read and understand everything quickly and easily. Sure, tools like Cursor, Copilot, like all that stuff's going to make it easier for a no coder. But I think the lack of fundamental developer knowledge and just like basic ability to read code is a massive barrier. And these, if they will naturally drive towards that visual interface. So, at some level, like leading the company, I gotta kind of be convicted and lead us hard in a direction. So that's where I'm going. But in reality, I recognize that, you got to stay a little nimble because anything can happen in this market.
Yeah, in so many ways, this new vibe coding era reminds me of the beginning of the no code era, where you had all these entrepreneurs being able to bring their ideas to life for the first time. And granted, the aha moment took way longer back
Mm-hmm.
then, and everything took way longer back then, but they were actually able to make it happen. And so that's what got this group of non-technical entrepreneurial people really like excited, and then they really stuck with it and they had to slam it together. But for the first time ever, as non-technicals, they could bring their business idea to life. And I think we're seeing so much of that again now with the Lovables and the Bolts of, we still have this group of non-technical people that still want to bring these ideas to life. Only 1% or less of the world can code, but we still have so many other people with these business ideas. How do we bring this to life? And with vibe coding, decreasing that aha moment, getting you that result in the next 5, 10, 15 minutes, going, it's a really good entry. But what I'm trying to say is, just like in the early days of no code, the potential, the ceiling was really low. Like, you hit limits,
Mm-hmm.
and you're still hitting those limits in vibe coding now, especially if you don't know how to code. Like, those limits still exist, and so I think it's a very much of a mirror. But I think no code actually has the advantage of, they've been building for this customer, this technical customer, for 5 to 10 years. They've been aware of these limits for 5 to 10 years. They've been aware of the need for visual interface for 5 to 10 years, and they've been building all of that. So I do think that no code platforms are really well prepared to solve the problem of the entrepreneur, the not techie, coming up
Mm-hmm.
with ideas, wanting to bring things to life. But I just don't think the form factor that no code is offering has really caught up with mainstream yet. And also, vibe coding maybe had caught them off guard with, how quick it came to market as well. And so there's going to be some recovery time now from no code platforms as they try to, now match up to where vibe coding platforms are.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's so much like product engineering that goes into that, like thinking through like how do you I think you're right. Like the incumbents are sort of backfooted because they have an interface and they have a product that like was designed for a certain purpose, and now this vibe coding thing came out of nowhere and sort of changes like the entire feel of the interface and like how you use the product. And so like it takes a lot of like excellent product thinking to be able to navigate through that to adapt your
And
incumbent
even
platform.
like, confidence or risk to be say, you know what, the interface that we've been building the last 3 years and how you build interfaces, we're going to throw that all out and rebuild it in an AI first way. Like, that takes so much, guts
Yeah.
to do that. And maybe the conviction isn't there yet. And so, do you do that? Do you not do that? And then if you don't do that, are you late to the party?
Hmm.
All that as well.
Yeah, I don't envy these leaders at these companies. This is definitely super hard to navigate, like really hard decisions. And also like we get all sucked into it. Like we're, like the 0.1% of top people that are like looking at this every single day. And so it's hard to remember that the vast majority of the market doesn't have a clue about any of this, right? And like you can't kill what's working for like the masses just because of this, hunch that it hasn't even been proven out yet. So it's definitely the leaders at these companies have very difficult decisions to make ahead of them. They got to be judicious and careful and wise in each step they take. Where even though, the onlookers like us say, go fast, do this, break everything. But yeah, it's hard to predict, man. I think overall it's good. Like you said, because the barriers come down so much. A new, what is it, like early adopters? What's the next one after that? I forget. Some other adopter. Like we're moving from like those early adopters into like a larger set of people that they didn't have the patience to open bubble for like 4 hours and figure out how to make a table, right? From a repeating group. Like we've now moved into this next segment where they're willing to spend 15 minutes to get started, and then if they see a little success, they'll spend another 15, another 15.
Yeah,
Um,
and luckily AI has brought it mainstream for the first time, something that no code has been trying to do for 10 years, and it never reached that hype. And now with
yep.
AI has fulfilled that, and that hype is there. And so the curiosity for these non-technical solutions providers, all that kind of stuff, is more than it ever has been before. So that's really good as well for no code, and for getting exposure out there for the
Yeah.
services they offer.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely. You were, I don't remember if you went No Code Summit, but like I think either were you there at No Code Summit in Paris? Okay, awesome. So like wasn't it interesting? Like the language started to change last like late 2024 from like no code, low code, and then we go to that conference together, and everyone's like, we're not talking about that anymore. We're talking about visual development. And then February of this year, no more visual developments of vibe coding. So like I also think it's interesting to see how all the marketing and messaging is changing. I think it's also like even for me, like with our own website, it's kind of hard to, we had our website, it was all saying no code. Okay, no, we're going to change it to visual development. Okay, wait, now it's all changing again. So even like the messaging out there to the masses is like very tricky to nail down.
Hmm. If you had to invest in one of the three areas going forward, databases, interfaces, automation, what one of those areas would you think is going to be the winner out of the next 3 to 5 years?
So databases, interfaces, or workflows. I think the concept around workflows, if we can expand it to agents, because I think workflows are sort of like a V1 way of thinking now. Like you use your workflow if the same thing happens every single time. Sure, that's great. Everyone's been doing that for a while. But like these new agents that can really make smart workflows and like really do complex tasks that are ultimately a workflow but have so much variability that you can't really like hard code it into a traditional workflow. I think that's like very, very, like very interesting. I'm trying to do that at our own company. Like literally, I play with this stuff on the weekend. This weekend, I just built this Warren Buffett
I
bot.
saw
I don't know
that.
if you saw that, but
Yeah.
yeah, I like whipped it up super fast, scraped a bunch of his content, public content, threw it into the knowledge base, had bought the domain talktowarren.com, and like bam, I mean, it was so
What
quick
tool
and
did you
easy.
use to build it?
Lovable for the website, and
Okay.
then Zapier actually for the chat bot. There's a million
Cool.
chat bot
Yeah.
apps out there, but
They
that was
make
just
it
like so
easy.
easy,
Yeah.
and they had a free trial.
Yeah. Hell yeah. And
um,
and you were able to do that on the weekend.
yep,
Uh yeah, it's so cool. I would agree with you. I feel like workflows, automation, AI agents, every single business is going to need it,
yeah,
right? And I think interface form factor is changing rapidly. It's quickly going to chat kind of thing. I think databases is going to be databases. It's
hmm
how much innovation can you really do there in that way, but workflows, AI's automation, every company is going to need it. I think every SaaS tool is going to implement it in some way. I think every tool is going to start talking to each other in some way.
yeah.
And you need to be that connector, bringing it all together, helping these large orgs take their data, automate it, leverage it with AI, get those insights, and do more with it, needing less manpower.
So like I'm using these tools and I'm like actively trying to implement them in our company in terms of like how do we, if we want to create workflows and agents for other people, first let's start by building it for ourselves. And I still don't think they're there yet. I think they're overhyped. I don't want to be, like the Debbie Downer in the biz. I'm like super hyped about the opportunity and like all the exciting technology. But reality is like I still haven't been able to get one to work very well for our own business. So I'm always trying, I'm always watching the latest thing that comes out. I'm like testing it out briefly. Like I got a lot of other things to do, so it's not like I'm, you know, spending 40 hours a week on it, but it still doesn't feel like it's super production ready. And so like we're not running gun ho in that direction and changing everything. Again, let's keep doing what we're doing really well. There's still a lot of flow and a lot of demand for that. Let's continue to do that, but let's not ignore the space. Let's try to leverage it for us ourselves internally, and then figure out, what is really the production readiness of these agents. Like
Yeah, they're
I
definitely getting there, and they're increasing each day. And with the combination of automations plus agents working together and taking an agent and being very specific with what that
Yep.
agent needs to do, and don't really counting on it for like mission critical stuff yet.
Yeah.
It's just busy work. It's stuff that is okay for errors right now, and just kind of having a human in the loop in the way. Like ease it in, like everything, ease it in. I think this is going to be one of those transitions where it's just going to take companies several years. But I think those within those companies that have the skill set of a system thinker, of slightly technical, where they can just connect things together, they can think about how to use AI well, will continue to rise up. Whereas those that don't know how to implement it and or kind of are stuck to the old phone, they might be outdated, in several years to come.
Yeah, that's the delivery mechanism for this is the challenging part for me. Like we have a team and they do excellent work at what they're doing, but like what we're doing needs to change. And like navigating that is like extremely difficult because people have to upskill, they have to try different things. There's different skills. Like the way you build apps, building workflows and agents, totally different skill. Not totally different, but like different from building apps. Building apps, even that skill is changing, like the same skills that were needed in the last 4 years are not the same skills we need for the next 4 years. So navigating that, like trying to have a culture where people can upskill and have the resources available for them to upskill in that way and adapt, and then also like the open mindedness around it all, definitely very challenging. But I think that's like if you're an agency owner, that's what everyone's got to be thinking about.
What are you feeling from the economy right now? I'll go first. From what I see, everyone's kind of not hiring at the moment. Not only economy itself is just not doing great, but the uncertainty of AI and the direction forward of how they're going to go is also uncertain. And so I feel like a lot of companies right now are kind of just standing still, kind of waiting for a next direction to be very clearly defined that they find success in. And until then, they're just not really doing much hiring, and they're kind of just trying to stay as nimble as possible so they can maneuver as need be. What is your read?
Yeah, so like I think theoretically that is my opinion as well. Like it feels like people have paused and just are holding their breath and waiting because of the uncertainty. In the numbers, like April, like definitely end of March and through most of April, there was definitely a dip. Like a lot less activity, a lot less phone calls ringing off the hook. And then on invoicing, people kind of like pausing, like, hey, I'm going to be late on this invoice, that kind of stuff. So like I definitely felt the pause. It didn't feel like, disaster, like end of the
It's
world or
hard to
anything.
tell if it's directly related just to AI or the economy itself, because the economy just isn't doing good. So it's hard to isolate those.
Yeah.
It could be both. It could be one of those. It's hard to tell.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think people know they want to adapt this technology. It's just a matter of when they're going to be ready to make that move.
Yeah. So answer this. I'm the CEO of a 200-person company. And I say, Matt, I give you a call. Matt, I see you on LinkedIn. You're handsome as hell. I want to get AI into my company. How can I give you money to do this? What do you how do you take that letter of intent, that intent of say, okay, I'm going to go in, put a plan in place and start adding AI. Like, what does that look like from a service implementation standpoint?
Yeah, so there's like your quick wins where everyone's focused on like call, like do you have people calling into your business? Can we automate that? Customer support, chatbots on your website, sales feedback. So there's like all these kind of like low hanging fruit that a lot of service providers can quickly like
And that they have
implement.
been de-risked to a certain extent, like
Exactly. Yeah.
customer support. It does kind of well in there. There's, good articles that you can use as a knowledge base. It's chat based. There's high volume. There's a lot to train it on. So it's a good use case for it.
Yeah, exactly. So I call that like you're kind of like we're over the hump on those. Those things can add value if you're willing to, if you have the information available and you're willing to adopt them. But I don't know like if like they don't like totally revolutionize your business, right? If we want to like really pull some big levers, we got to get someone in your business understanding what are like the big workflows that you got going on. Like what are people spending like literally 20 hours a week doing? And like how can we like make a workflow that cuts that down to like 10 or 5? Customer support definitely, like if you have a big company and a lot of customer support, that's a big one. But some of them are a little less like sales feedback, right? Or like lead categorization. Those are like they're good wins, but they're not huge needle movers. And you really can't really move the bar unless you get in the business and understand what they do, and then use your your critical thinking to think through what you can apply.
Yeah, I think you're right on, and I think also this is where automation agencies have a step ahead of us because they've already been doing this for a
Yeah.
while, where companies come to them. They say, great, we're going to go in there. We're going to audit some of your main key processes that we think could be good. We're going to find areas that's more repeatable.
Yep.
And then we'll pitch you on building those systems and then teach your team members how to use those systems. And we'll keep going through your company as we find fat to trim off to automate. That would be a good use case. And, or kind of your on-call IT team along
Yep.
the way.
Yeah, totally. I think they have probably their step ahead from the agencies that you and I speak with are more of the app building side. But the other challenge I've seen, because we've dabbled in this, is like the cultural changes. Like if you want to go in there and really make a difference, you're going to ruffle some feathers, and it depends a lot about the company culture, like how willing the founder is to kind of like be pretty aggressive or bold on certain things. And like even if you have these tools, like people at the company still need to change their habits. So sometimes the biggest hurdle is not actually the building or the consultative skill it takes to identify the value. Sometimes it's just like being able to help them navigate the cultural and human behavior around making these changes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's people.
Yeah. People, man. So
Yeah.
that's why I think, like, don't be scared. Like, people don't change that fast. Habits, we're in it every single day and we feel like maybe it's the end of the world or we're all going to be replaced. But the reality is, like, human behavior takes much, much longer to change. People are much slower to adapt. I mean, on the order of years, we're not talking like months. Like, it could be 5 years before, like, even a significant, sizable impact is, felt. Like I walk around, I walk around today and, people know what no code is, but they have no idea what vibe coding is still. Right. So like 4 years ago, I'd walk around, no one knew what no code is. Now I
I
walk
still
around.
feel like that.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
tell my parents, they don't know.
Yeah.
My
Well,
family
our
doesn't
parents,
know.
yeah, our
Yeah.
parents, yeah. But like I would say no code people started to understand a little bit more about that. But then you ask them a vibe code and they're like, what's that? Never heard of that. So remember, and like you're saying, there's still tons of people out there that don't even know what no code is. So
Yeah, every time people explain vibe coding to me of like being able to give non-technical people the ability to create things, I'm just like, I know, I've been in that world for 5 years now. We've been doing it.
yeah.
What's new here?
There's nothing new under the sun, guys. It's like just if you view life from a historical lens, it just makes everything more predictable.
Yeah, so we have, by the way, the Bolt party in San Francisco. Can we just talk about that for like a hot minute?
Oh yeah.
Did you hear about
No,
that?
I didn't hear. What's this?
So Bolt threw a party in San Francisco this week. They invited the chain smokers to headline it, and it was like a full party. They
Wow.
they had like robotic cameras there. They did a full. They must have spent over $100,000, $200,000 on this party, like a Bolt launch party. They brought in
Sounds
San
like an
Francisco
American
community,
startup.
huh?
An American startup.
Yeah, and they went all in on it. I had major FOMO for not being there. It kind of reminded me of like early Silicon Valley tech vibes of just like throwing these huge. I don't know if you saw Silicon Valley, like in one of the first episodes, there was like
Oh, I
that
love that
big,
crap.
yeah, the one of the big concerts, and what Kid Rock was at it, where the kid, it was kind of like that Bolt
Yeah,
did
dude.
this week.
Is it Silicon Valley is like a documentary. So like startup founders all need to watch that documentary
I
and follow
wish
the
they would
playbook.
bring it current.
Yeah,
You
me
know
too. To a
that.
new season, new
Yeah.
version of it.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's hard to tell. We have Bolt, we have Lovable, we have Replit. Figma just launched their
Yep, that was big
make
news.
as well.
Yep,
OpenAI just bought Windsurf. And so
yep,
that's a huge thing for $3 billion. People are kind of still maybe figuring out why. I think one of the best hypotheses I've seen is that the data that they'll be able to get out of Windsurf in terms of when AI writes the code and then the developer accepting or not accepting the quality of that code, they'd be able to train their AI so much faster based on having that mechanism, and then also a vehicle to allow their code to also do this. And that's kind of what I'm seeing at. But do you have any other takes on why that might have came through?
Yeah, it just feels like they're very behind on that IDE space, and like Gemini and Anthropic are really outperforming them, and that's been happening for a while. So the gap is getting worse and worse, and so they needed to make a big move to try to play catch up. And I think it like the windsurf helps them play catch up because of that feedback, having like a large user base that's interacting and helping the model get better and better, like gives them a chance. Because otherwise, people aren't using it to help them code. And so the gap will just get bigger and bigger if they don't do something.
Yeah. Yeah. Any last thoughts here before we wrap it up?
No, it's been great to see you, JJ, man. Always good talks. I'm sure we'll look back at this in a few years and be like, man, we got it so wrong.
We got it so wrong. All right. Well, okay. So let's just go out on a good note. You give your suggestion to the audience of what they might do to prepare for this next stage, and I will do it as well. Yeah, and I don't mind going first because I put you on the spot here. What do you want to do?
I say you got to stay curious. Like, don't get overly excited about any of these tools. Like, you have to wait for the market to tell you what's happening. And remember that you're in the top 0.1% of the market. Like, just because you feel a lot of anxiety and anxiousness to move doesn't mean you have to, right? If you're running a bigger agency, you got to be a little more careful. If you're running something smaller, then you can be a little more quick to act. But don't get shiny object syndrome, okay? Play with the tools, be aware of what they can do, what their capabilities are, but be careful of getting lost in the clouds and imagining, this big giant gold mine or universe that you're going to be first to market doing. So yeah, be curious, stay active, learn, but be careful.
Great one.
Too quick.
Great one. For mine, I would say everything that you've been doing for the last 4 years, keep doing it from a business perspective. When a client comes in, you ask the same questions. What's the problems we're solving? What do you need to be done? What do you need to bring to life? What is the budget? What is your timeline? All that stuff is true. I think the thing that is completely different now than it was 2 years, 3 years ago is the tools that you'll use. You now need to be agnostic, and the tools that you have are just going to be the best for the problems you're solving for the specific client. Rather than 2 years ago, it was you have one tool, you would just throw it at the wall and just hope that one tool did it. But now it's agnostic. And so you need to be up to date with as many tools as possible, generally know how to interact with some of the main tools in the different types of areas, but still hyper focus on solving problems for your customer, helping them usher in this new age, keeping them realistic, keeping them able to find the ROI on the tech that you're building, because that's still more true than ever before. Getting that ROI, finding those opportunities, solving those problems. The only thing that's changed is the tools we're using. And now we just even have more tools at our advantage. So strap up, get agnostic, become aware as many tools as possible, keep listening to the podcast, and just get ready for a next 5 years that is banging, because this couldn't be a better time for people with our skill set.
Yeah, totally. I agree. Like stay on the roller coaster. You may get a little sick, but stick with it, because I think overall it's going up. All right.
Awesome.
See you, JJ.
Matt, thank you so much for coming in. Where can people find out about your agency if they want to work with you?
Yeah, check out rapiddevelopers.com, rapid developers with 1D. And then find me on LinkedIn, hit me up on messages. I also have all my contact info in LinkedIn as well.
And what might be a good person that might come to you, like a small business that are looking for this, or like where is it that like you really crush it? What kind of customer?
Yeah, so existing business that needs to expand like digitally. So whether that's building an internal tool, or they want to give their clients, their suppliers, their customers a new experience through an app interface, web portal, or mobile app, that's our sweet spot.
Awesome. All right, you heard the man. Go check them out. Otherwise, thank you for listening to This Week in No Code. We'll see you later.